my darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm reviewing Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This is his new young adult contemporary novel, and it focuses on Aja Holmes, who has OCD. This is an own voices book, as John Green also has OCD, and I will link to a Vlogbrothers video where he talks about his OCD and a little bit about this book. So this book is pretty much character driven. It's told from a first person perspective, and we get to see and feel what having OCD is like for Aja. She particularly fixates on her body and diseases and germs, which for me is a little bit creepy because I'm a tiny bit germophobic. So having Aja describe C. diff and how you can catch it and the probability of it and what it'll do to you is a little bit terrifying. So thanks, John Green, for that. But it's really cool the way that he tells the story because you get to go through Aja's thought process with her and experience these obsessive thoughts and the compulsions she has because of it. And one of her compulsions is like picking at her finger because she thinks she's going to get an infection. So she's constantly checking her finger to make sure that it's not like pussy and swollen and inflamed and red and infected. But she always is like reopening the wound because if it's bleeding out, then it's not getting infected. And she is definitely addicted to using hand sanitizer to kill germs. So that's one way that her compulsions kind of manifest. We also get to follow her thought spirals and how she thinks about it and how it just kind of gets stuck and trapped. And Aja describes her obsessive thoughts as a thought spiral because of the way that it feels. It feels like you just start getting on this trap and then you start going down the slippery slope and it just keeps going. And as you get further down, the tighter the spiral gets and like the more terrifying it is. So I love this book for the psychological fact that we get to get inside Aja's head. Plot-wise, in this book, there is a billionaire that has gone missing in her town, and Aja knows the guy's son. And so she and her best friend Daisy go to the kid's house to investigate and see if they can find clues. Daisy is particularly interested in getting the reward money for that the police are offering. So Davis is an interesting character because of all the money, basically. Like, his life revolves around having this money, and it changes him. And he doesn't trust people very often, and like he is immediately reluctant to trust Aja when she shows up, because he's like, hey, everybody else is just after the money, and the press is after the story about my dad and what happened. And he's also taken on the responsibility of being in charge of his younger brother Noah, who's like 13, and so Davis is also growing up really fast. I also really liked the fact that Davis is fond of astronomy and just stargazing and kind of sitting there and exploring the vastness of the universe. Also, we have Daisy, Aja's best friend, and they have been best friends for years. And she's really supportive of Aja and understanding about when Aja goes into these thought spirals and kind of tunes everybody else out. But it's not easy for Daisy to have a best friend like that, to see Aja going through all this, but it also impacts her. Like, Aja doesn't always pay attention and doesn't always know everything about Daisy. And sometimes the relationship feels like Daisy's giving a lot and Aja's not giving very much either. Davis's brother Noah is kind of interesting because he's trying to cope with his dad having gone missing, and they don't have a mom anymore. She died like years before of cancer, and so Noah's feeling lost. Like, he's still a boy, he's 13, and even though they have servants looking after them, and even though he has Davis, he's still a lost little boy, basically. I feel so bad for Noah in this story, honestly. Even though he acts up in some very adult ways, like smoking and drinking, and just playing video games at all hours and not sleeping. We also have the relationship between Aja and her mother. Aja's dad has also died, and that's actually how she and Davis met. They went to a summer camp for kids who have lost their parents. So Aja's relationship with her mom is pretty strong because there isn't anyone else, it's just the two of them. Also, her mom works in the school, so they see each other a lot, and her mom is kind of keeping an eye on her and monitoring her and trying to be supportive with Aja's OCD, but also trying to be like practical, like, do you really think you're going to go away to college when you can't even get through a day at school by yourself? I feel like every time I read one of John Green's books, I forget how good a writer he is. Like, I am constantly surprised by this fact. Even though I've read like 3 of his books by now, I'm still like surprised going into this that the writing is as good as it is. There's like a quote that Daisy has when they get the money, and she's like, "We're about to live the American dream," which is, of course, to benefit from someone else's misfortune. Like I love the way he describes these sentences and the way that they capture what's happening. He has a way of putting words to things that don't seem like they actually have words for. That's also cool because they're in Indianapolis or a suburb of Indianapolis or something, and they're talking about this river and how improbable it is that this city is doing okay. Like they talk about having like a grade C river, but they built like a grade B town on it. Like it's impressive. I love the setting in here, though I feel like it's less important. It's more the culture divide between Davis being really rich, Aja being like middle class, and then Daisy being lower middle class, and what stress money brings to everybody in each of these different situations. It brings Davis stress to not trust anybody. It brings Daisy stress to not have money to buy things like laptops and cars, or not know how she's going to pay for college. Oh my gosh, there's also a lizard in here, the Tuatara, that Davis's father has been funding research into because it's this animal that lives a really long time, and it's basically a dinosaur. And I adore the Tuatara, even though we don't see it very often. Love the lizard. That's wonderful. And I was appreciative of the fact that there actually are turtles in one scene in this book, even though this is not a book about turtles. So I really enjoyed Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. I gave it 4 stars. I love his writing. It's fun. And this book was a little bit creepy at times, just being stuck in Aja's head and not really being able to get out of it. I mean, as a reader, really able to put it down and like stop reading, but like it stuck with me even when I wasn't reading the book. How Aja thinks, and especially all the thoughts she was having about germs. That creeped me out. That definitely is going to stick with me for a while. So I totally recommend Turtles All the Way Down if you haven't already read it. And if you have read it, let me know in the comments below what you think of it. And I will also post links to the other John Green books that I have read and reviewed, as well as the video where John Green is talking about his OCD. Yeah. So there's also a crash course video with OCD that is pretty helpful too. I think I'll link that also. Yeah. So peace out. I love you guys and keep reading. Bye.